Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. Well, hello again for now. We missed a little bit of the intro in the recording, but we were on fire going on here we were talking about the wealthy, something brought you in here that had something to do with creation of wealth. And I was talking about, we're not just talking about money, financial wealth. We're talking about independence. We're talking about time independence, location independence, the freedom to work when you want, where you want, and in fact, the freedom to not even work if you don't really, if not, you don't have to actually see it as work. Because when we change wealth to worth, then what you see is what you demand, how you see yourself, the limitations that you allow yourself to release brings up your worth. And the higher your worth, your self-worth, your net worth, your social worth is, the higher your wealth. It goes hand in hand. It goes hand in hand. There's something that we talk about that's called, the word is clout. And when you start having self-clout, we think of clout as something that is in the outer world, like how much our network recognizes us. But when you start having your own self-clout, when you start knowing within yourself that your worth is not determined by anything out there. And I know that sounds like it's conceptual, but when you have a higher self-worth, that also means your speaking fees are going to come up. So it's not just conceptual, it's actually raising your wealth. So when you have a higher self-clout, you create a higher social clout. When you have a higher self-worth, you create a higher social worth. And so how you perceive yourself and your self-worth is directly proportional to how you see your wealth. Now, I'll share a little bit about that before we get into the 7 streams of income and then the 10 by 10 by 10 plan for all of you. I'll just share. So I am a 28-year corporate worker. I've had a corporate job since my first year of university. And I know you're looking at me going, what, did you start when you were 12? Yes, exactly. Thank you for doing the quick math. No, but I've been working at a major airline for the last 28 years. And I've done a whole gamut. I started when I was 19 years old as a flight attendant for the big major airline in Canada. Now, if you're living in Canada, no, I don't know what happened to your suitcase in 1992. And I'm not even going to mention the airline, but it was a job that I absolutely loved. And as much as I absolutely loved it, I also wanted more for myself within that time that I was with the airline. So I did all kinds of weaving in and out with corporate training. I created a couple of initiatives. My work of heart at the airline was I created an initiative called Open Skies for Autism, which brought children on the autism spectrum and their families to the airport through all aspects of flight and on the airplane that taxied around the airport. So they had the experience of flying without ever leaving the ground. I created a few other training programs, and I thought that I was fulfilled. And I also knew I wanted something more. I had it in my mind that when I got to the 25-year mark, I would retire. And I started putting the wheels in place 6 years before, and I ended up calling it, some people have a 5-year plan. I had a 6-year plan, but of course, 6-year sounds a lot like sexier. So that's what it became, my sexier plan that I was going to have before I retired. My retirement date, in my mind, sexier plan, was May 22nd of 2020. Now, we all know what happened in 2020. And we all had the greatest plans for our lives, And then 2020 whooshed right in there and changed our plans for us. There's a famous quote that says, humans make our plans and God laughs. So if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans, because something is going to come in there and change those plans. Well, here's what I learned during that time, and here's what I want to impart for you, because I actually had the greatest lesson of my life. I had to find other sources of income. My speaking career came to a full stop. My corporate career came to a full stop. My income went down, practically to nil. But my self-worth didn't. Now, as the time continued, my husband was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. So suddenly, I was in this position of not only not having an income, not only being suddenly grounded, but now having to face the very real possibility that I was going to be a widow and not have any income. And that's when I started to conceive. I went through all the necessary stages of grief and anger and disbelief. And eventually I had to settle in this place of, okay, God, if that happens, what do I do? And I started to study and realize that I had to go on, and I had to bring my self-wealth to be completely independent, to be completely, my wealth and my worth had to coincide. And I started doing a deep dive into my own personal development, not only from a spiritual, emotional place, but also in business. I had to teach myself a lot of business tools, and now I'm going to teach those to you. I became a Tony Robbins coach. I also became a Tony Robbins leader, and I now am just in May going to be taking part as a leader in Wealth Mastery, the Tony Robbins program. I started working with speakers. I was helping them write their books, but in part of helping them write their books, I was also helping them create their network and create the platform for their speaking business. And this is in part what I'm going to share with you today. I'm going to give a slice of this and share this with you today. How does that sound? Oh, I'm going to open up the chat. Let me see here. What do we do when our self-worth, well, changes with life changes? Exactly. I love that question. Thank you, Anne-Marie. And if I've missed some of the questions along the way, please forgive me, or put them back in and I'll try to answer them. So that's a great question, because life does give us different circumstances sometimes, doesn't it? I mean, you expect one thing, like we all saw that, as I'm saying, in 2020. None of us had that in our crystal ball, in our agenda of how life was going to pan out for us. All of us were sideswiped with that, and all of us are sideswiped with personal tragedies all the time, with things that we didn't expect. We have illness, whether it's personal, our parents, our spouses, our childs. We have, things that we didn't expect. And so the best time to put in the IV when you get to the hospital, the first thing that they do is they find the line, because the best time to find a vein is before you need it. I have a background in aviation, as you know. The best time to prepare for a disaster is before the disaster. So when we are looking at this idea of self-worth and self-wealth, well, guess what? We know that life is going to come and sideswipe us sometimes. So the best time to start our 7 streams of income is now, is before disaster hits, is before we have a 2020 or an illness or anything else like that. And the confidence that you have when you start putting in these 7 streams of income is that you're allocating your funds in different ways. And so you are confident that you're not relying on one thing: husband, job, corporate career, speaking career. Yeah, life's curveballs often get in the way at the most inconvenient times when you have a full plate already. Ooh, yes, exactly, Janet. So kudos to you to rise despite everything that was going on. Well, exactly. And it was literally also partially a self-protection, right? It was I mentioned in the earlier introduction that all of our mothers had this, like we have this image of mothers, like when the going gets tough, who got going? Our mothers. I come from an immigrant family. My mom worked 2 jobs. And so the idea for me of wealth comes with hard work, but it doesn't need to. And that's something that I know that I had to work through being a child of immigrants, that there was this immigrant work ethic that, you need to get through, you need to work hard in order to really succeed. And I've been watching a lot of people, especially as I entered into this personal development world and doing the coaching that I'm doing. In fact, that yes, a lot of the best stories are that we pull ourselves up from the bootstraps. And there's a lot of self-worth that comes with that. But a lot of it is also coming from creating our own personal wealth. So whether you had a chance in life because you were handed down a company that was thriving, or $1 million inheritance, or what have you, creating something for yourself by yourself is the best way to elevate your self-worth. So we're going to get into that. So we're all here, I'm assuming, with an interest in speaking. Can we get a hands up here? Who has an interest in speaking? And let's get a second hand up. Who would like to take their speaking career and make that the focus of their next life path, the next life path? Yeah, right? It stands to reason. We're here at a speaking summit. So it stands to reason that we're all sharing in this. Now, who here has a charge for their speaking? Who here actually has an income from their speaking? And no shade, no embarrassment, no nothing if you don't, because I'm going to actually teach you a way to start having an income from your speaking, even if you don't yet have an income from your speaking. How does that sound? Great, right? Even if you have an income from your speaking, I'm going to show you a few ways to actually monetize in a few different ways. Yeah, exactly. Janet, it depends on where. Exactly. This is actually a great point. Sometimes you'll have a speaking fee. Sometimes you'll have honorarium instead of, and you'll actually still get paid for that speaking time. So I'll give you an example of my 7 streams of income with their offshoots, because it's never just a stream. And I think you'll see how some of them relate, okay? So I do have a corporate job. So that's one stream of income. And most people would be, that would be considering that that's their income. I know that my corporate job has a pension that I pay into, but nonetheless, the pension is in fact another stream of income. And I'm mentioning that because I just was telling you around the concept called self-worth and self-wealth coming together. So I want to ensure that I'm starting to have you see your 7 streams kind of like the river stream and the offshoots of it, because also that becomes, you start to relate to how rich you actually are when you start seeing all these streams. So even if you want to put that in your book, if you're a visual person, put what looks like a stream and the offshoots. So corporate job, pension. I also am involved in employee share program. If you have ESOPs at work, put that as a stream, because it starts to have you recognize where you really are very wealthy. If you have any other streams that come off of your actual job, your day job, put those in too. And I'd love to hear some of those examples of those too that you can think of. Then you have the speaking stream. The speaking stream doesn't necessarily just mean speaker fees. But if you do have speaker fees, put that number of what your speaker fee is. If you don't yet have a speaker fee, put the number that you think would be a good speaker fee. And we're not yet, there's no judgment. It could be 500, it could be 1,000, it could be 5,000, it could be 10,000. I don't want you to get into the weeds around, well, that's not realistic. I want you to just put down a number, whatever comes to your gut, as your speaker fee. But that's only one stream of income as a speaker. And that's not going to get you on your private jet to get to that speaking fee, because even at 500, 1,000, or 5,000, that one stream is limited. So if you give 2 speeches a month of $5,000, that's $10,000. And that's great. No one's shading $10,000 extra per month. That sounds incredible, doesn't it? But I'm here to tell you that if you start incorporating the other streams of income, you're actually exponentially creating more wealth than just the speaker fees. And yeah, it doesn't have anything to do with experience or exposure, Lauren. That's a great question. That is a great question. The higher speaking fees have to do with a combination of 2 things. Right fit for the audience. So obviously, who is booking you and what do they need to hear? We have a few different topics that are perennial that corporations always want to hear. They kind of bounce up and down between diversity and inclusion, leadership, and motivation. Different times, this becomes a little bit more popular. Right now, it's very popular for diversity and inclusion. A lot of speaker bureaus are looking for that. But the second part to being able to charge a higher wage for speaking is, so the first part I said is fitting their need, because no meeting planner is going to put you in when they don't need that kind of a speaker. You have to fit their need. But the bigger part is relevancy. Relevancy. You have to be relevant for the audience members. You have to be relevant, speaking about something that is hitting that audience right then. Think of it. Is your speech to that audience, to that corporation, that meeting planner who's booking for that summit, is it going to be different prior to 2020 or post 2020? Right? We have to stay relevant. The more relevant you are, it doesn't matter how much experience or exposure you have, because you're relevant. You're new. You've got a new message coming in. Yeah, I'm glad you're writing this all down, Lauren. That's great. So there you have it. So there's one stream of income that you're standing on a stage as a speaker, and there's your speaking fee. But that's not the only stream of income as a speaker. You're also going to have some form of a coaching platform, whether that be one-on-one, whether that be group coaching, or whether that be online courses. Something about your messaging that has that audience be able to continue with you. And when I work with my clients, as I said, I started a company in 2020 that helped speakers write their books. And what I found was that more often than not, we weren't actually only writing their books, we were curating their online course. We were curating the message, the system that they're going to take their clientele through. So as a speaker, you have the opportunity to invite people into your one-on-one coaching, your group coaching, and your online courses. And if you haven't yet started to conceive of how you can offer that, I really, really invite you to consider how much more worth you can give. As I mentioned before, you want to make $1 million, inspire 1 million people. How many more people can you inspire when you're just standing on a stage in front of 100 people or 1,000 people versus how much more can you inspire by inviting those 1,000 people to your online course and they each invite 10 of their friends? You know, they walk out and they say, yeah, oh my gosh, I heard this TED Talk. And funny that you say that, Janet, that's exactly the thing. I had 2 TED Talks under my belt. And in 2020, I had my goal was to get 10 TED Talks under my belt. And I called it my TEDx project, the Roman numeral X being 10. And that was my project. And I had 3 more booked for 2020. And then, of course, 2020 happened. But in that launching my business, I actually helped so many people write a book and get booked on TEDx. Exactly. And great point is that, and here's another little variable, a little secret. TEDx talks don't pay you. They're great for clout, social clout, and self-clout. They're great to raise your worth socially and for yourself, but they don't actually pay you. So the fact that everyone wants to do a TEDx talk is absolutely great, and also shows us that people don't really want wealth that means only money. There's other kinds of wealth that we want. We want that clout, that feeling of, God, I did that. And we want to inspire as many people as we can. It's never about us. It's never selfish. If we break it down, it's always about helping others. It's always about our impact on the world. So I love that you brought that. Yeah, visibility, exactly. But when you break down the real reason of why you want visibility, it's not just so that people will, walk up to you and go, I know you. It's that they come up to you and they say, Lauren, I know you because I heard you speak and your story changed my life. Your message had me doing something different that I didn't realize I was going to do. You inspired me. That's what we want. It's not just significance. We want to impact people. Right. And wealth is not just money. It's self-worth. Sometimes the money in the bank account gives us a feeling of self-worth, but more often it's not. It's those people who come up and say, thank you. You changed my life. Is there no other, worthy goal than changing someone's life? So we have 2 streams of income now. And like I said, the streams have offshoots. Just like I said, a pension is an offshoot and ESOP is an offshoot. For coach, there's one-on-one is an offshoot, and some coaches are only one-on-one. They thrive on one-on-one. Some coaches are great in group environments, 3, 4, 10 people. And some coaches work on an online course. And as you build your platform, my goal for you is that you'll have all of the above. That you'll go on a speaking gig and have an online course for those who, want a little less interaction. I mean, just to be able to take the online course, and you'll have the group coaching at another level for people who want a little bit of a deeper dive and they want some society in there or some community, and you'll have the one-on-one for those who really want to hammer in and get this done. That's my goal for you. Third stream of income, I should say fourth, because I mentioned a corporate job is one stream, speaker is another stream, speaker coach is another stream. Adding author to one of your streams of income. And I've worked with so many clients, and everyone thinks that an author is like a one day, someday thing. And actually, I know that we have quite a few examples and role models in this group around authors who are anthology writers. So they've written a chapter of a book and now they are an author. I also highly advocate that you don't even need to be an author. I am an author. I've written a few books. I've been in some anthologies as well. So I truly see the merit of being an author. But I also have published journals, my own journal. I like to write in a journal every day. So I published my own journal. So blank pages that, have little inspirational quotes every few pages. Well, I have a nice little, I'm never going to be wealthy with that, but it's an additional stream of income. I get a little bit of a, little check from Amazon every month that comes with that. So I want you to start seeing how you can really create this 7 streams of income and really brainstorm it. Another stream of income that is very popular amongst women. It's a little bit of some people have a little bit of two minds about it. I will say over this past few years, I worked with many, many authors. I can't mention their names because I have non-disclosure agreements with them, who are direct marketing coaches to direct marketing successes. So they work for some of those direct marketing companies. And I will say that there is an art to doing coaching and building a direct marketing platform that is done very, very, very well. And I would recommend that you research a product that you really love and that you don't have to pay through the nose. There are many of them out there. And I have very, very, very many clients who have a huge success that one of their streams of income is a direct marketing company that they work with. I obviously can't mention those names that I have NDAs with. I can mention my prize client who I absolutely adore is a woman who was the first and only Black woman to have ever become a pilot on the U-2 aircraft. Her picture hangs in the Pentagon, and she became a corporal in the military, and she's now retired, and now she's a speaker. And so she's employed these 7 streams of income in her work. And one of the things that I actually love about her, she's a great example of this. And I actually took a card out of her book for this. One of her streams of income is that she is a fitness coach. And this is I don't have that much time left because I really want to ensure that I bring this home too. Your 7 streams of income can also reflect your hobbies. So she's a fitness coach. She is a woman who is, just a muscle, like she's got that natural physique that is going to have a lot of muscles. But also, having gone through the military, she also has a lot of injuries. So she just had her hips replaced. And so she's showcasing her journey to health to bring back her strength in the gym. She's putting those on reels and on Instagram, and people are following her and getting inspired by her because here's this badass woman who has her picture hanging in the Pentagon and showing herself doing her workouts in the gym, getting back on her healing journey after a hip replacement surgery. So I want you to get into your mind that one of the streams of income doesn't just have to be in the traditional speaking coaching. she's getting clients to come to her as a personal trainer as one of her streams of income because she's in the gym and she loves it. So that's an additional stream of income. And do you kind of now start to see how it all comes together? Right? She's a brand. She's this badass woman who was a pilot in the military who now does personal training after hip replacement, who speaks and has a book and speaks to all these organizations, including the military. And of course, she would also be the brand that is now inspiring women to get really fit, and not in that way that looks like just being slim is the only model of being fit. So do you start to see how this is the self-worth equals wealth? Create yourself as a brand. Exactly. So even for me, myself, I'm a former belly dancer. I used to belly dance and teach belly dance classes. I'm yoga certified, I'm Zumba certified. So one of the ways that I connect with my clientele is that I have a clientele that comes in through the feminine dance. And I really, truly believe in that opening up to receiving through your movement. So yeah, you want to learn belly dancing. I'm going to come out with a course, an online course to teach this feminine movement. And then that brings me to the final stream of income. And I want you to start wrapping your head around this, because this is what I see for you. The final stream of income is retreats or workshops or live events that you're running yourself. So of course, if it's a live retreat that you're running yourself, all of the streams of income that you've just put on your paper with all their offshoots, that is actually you as a brand and what you'll be curating and creating in your retreats. And now very quickly, I know I don't have very much time left, but I want you to take that paper that you've written on with all the streams and all their offshoots, and just very quickly, once again, I don't want you to overthink it. I want you to put a monetary amount on each of those offshoots. For the next year, how much will you earn from each of those? Don't overthink it. Don't minimize it and be realistic or reasonable. I want you to be completely unreasonable about this, because this is how you build your wealth. Wealthy people make unreasonable demands on their self-worth. Yeah, and don't worry about other people's budgets. That's right. Your worth is non-negotiable. You set your worth, your own self-worth, in a higher elevation, and your wealth will soon meet it, because you're not a one-trick pony. You're coming in with your 7 streams of income, and those 7 streams become your brand. And what people are paying for is you inspiring them by how you live your life. How does that sound for everyone? Are we all millionaires over the next year? We're having a $1 million net worth over the next year? Let's say it, let's record it. Like I said, whatever is measured improves. Whatever is measured and recorded improves exponentially. So let's declare that. Whatever is that number that you came up with, and have a fantastic time creating that wealth over the next year. It's been a pleasure having this workshop with you all. Thank you very much. I know future millionaires invite me over. Thank you all. If there's Linda or Charlene, are we finished for time, or is there time for questions?
We can do one question.
Okay, well, how can we reach you? I'd love for you to reach me. I haven't created any printable or invitation to work with me, but you are more than welcome to email me at Merav@meravrichter.com. So if you see my name on the Zoom screen, it's exactly that, Merav at maravrichter.com. You can also find me on all socials. I am Merav Richter on Facebook. I am also Brave Ecstatic Woman on Facebook, as well as Brave Ecstatic Woman on Instagram. And of course, you can friend me on personal Facebook as well. I love to have Toastmaster friends. So thank you so much, all. Thank you, everyone. Thanks.